Since the new year started, I've really noticed that no buy 2025 has really been taking off as a trend, and I actually tried to do a no buy last year. I didn't really talk about it on the channel because by the time I started the channel, I had already started to fail a little bit at my no buy year. So I thought I'd talk about what my initial plan was, what went wrong, and how I'm recalibrating that plan for this year, because I would still like to generally stick to the principles of a no buy year. I thought with even more people trying to do a no buy year this year, maybe some of my experience would be helpful. Between the years, particularly of like 2017 to 2021, I started doing a lot of like collecting, which was really stress buying. I realized in hindsight, I just kind of justified it like my partner and I were having fun collecting together. It's like a hobby we're sharing. And then I hit this point where I suddenly realized that the amount of stuff I had collected was getting very overwhelming, and it wasn't really bringing me the happiness that I thought it would, which is a pretty common cycle when it comes to buying stuff, but some people just keep on doing it. It was like suddenly I just woke up from the whole thing and thought, what am I doing? Why do I have so much stuff? I don't even have time to experience any of it. So I wanted to break myself of like what I realized was a dopamine addiction to shopping. And I thought the best way to do that would be to do a no-buy year. So my number one reason for doing this was just to kind of recalibrate my own life priorities and use the stuff I already had. And just in the last several months, we also decided that we wanted to move back to Maryland, which will necessitate having more cash on hand. So now there's even more of a need to be frugal. And there's also a bit of just kind of general societal protest, because I think that our society has gotten just excessively consumerist and materialistic to a point of absurdity.
If you don't want to throw away your instant garbage, you could put it in a drawer you hate for years and years.
I just don't want to participate in the system anymore. I have no delusions that this will become like a mass movement and that everyone will just like reject consumerist society entirely and that my actions are really going to have any effect on the world. But what they do have is making me feel better about the way that I am living my life. It's kind of been part of just a whole recalibrating priorities as far as how I'm spending my time and my resources, including spending less time on social media, particularly social media that I don't feel gives me a lot of like real benefit, but it's just like a way to fill brain space when you're bored. I've done a lot less of that, a lot less shopping, but nevertheless, I did fail at the no buy year. My original plan was just not to buy anything except necessities, mostly food, cat food, pay the regular bills, supplies for business, and anything that comes up that like, you really need, like if an appliance breaks or something like that. Otherwise, I wasn't going to buy anything. Now, I do have a Barnes & Noble MasterCard. I was still going to get my occasional little treat at Barnes & Noble. So, what went wrong? Over the course of the year, every time I did spend money, I found myself analyzing in more depth than usual, why did I spend that money? What was the driving factor that led me to break the no-buy year? And that alone is one reason I think it was beneficial to try to do a no-buy year, just because it made me super conscious of why I spend money. Now, I should say I'm already a pretty frugal person. Even at the height of my collecting phase, there's a lot of things I just don't really buy very much of, like beauty products, home decor. I don't drink. I don't really go out to like movies or concerts. I'm pretty much a homebody. So the primary things that I spend money on besides necessities are media, books and records, and food like restaurants and treats. Now, last year I did not really try to cut back on the food budget or the treat budget even at all. I just left that one alone. And the reason why is because I work hard on a lot of other things, and generally when I go to restaurants, it's because like I'm out for the day and I don't really want to like pack sandwiches. Like, I have enough to worry about than to like, it just seems sad to me to be out and about and have to like have a cooler of like cold food. Like I want hot food. And I still like my treats because I think everybody deserves one or two vices in their life. And mine are mainly chocolate and kombucha. So these are not, very destructive vices. I am not giving up chocolate and kombucha unless I absolutely must. But no matter what you spend money on, I think that the urge to as to why you're spending the money is probably pretty similar across people. So most of the moments that got me to break the no buy year fell into one of several categories. One was simply that I really, really wanted something. Like at some point during this past year, I decided that I really, really wanted to reread all of Ella Montgomery's books because she's my favorite author and I could talk about it on the channel. So I bought copies of all of her books that I didn't already have. And as I was making videos about her, which by the way, I am planning like one big final video. It's just taking me forever for various life reasons. But as I was making these videos, I was referencing her diaries and I didn't own all the diaries and there's now like unabridged versions and I only had the abridged version. So I just started to really hunger to have her full journals after I'd bought all of her books. So that ended up being one of my big purchases of the year. For Christmas, I got myself all of her unabridged journals. There were also some like records, like we really got into Harry Nilsson near the end of the year and we're hunting down Harry Nilsson records. So the things that you really want obviously can be a factor in breaking a no buy year. The second thing was just like stress. Like I had some medical tests this year where I was like all stressed waiting to hear back about medical results. There was the election. Like the things that do me in are often those like you're waiting on something and you can't get out of your head about it. That was definitely a factor in sometimes breaking the no buy year because I would just get so desperate to get out of my head and just lose myself in the dopamine rush of shopping. In small and very deliberately chosen doses, I don't think this is necessarily bad. The problem with the 2017 to 2021 era was that I was often just doing it, I was leaning on it as like sort of an anti-anxiety medication, shopping. Like during the pandemic, I was doing a ton of shopping on various online used bookstores that have their inventory listed online. And I would just spend hours like browsing all these books because I really wanted to get out to the library. And that was the second best thing. But I ended up buying a lot of the books and I've barely read any of them. So if you have kind of an extenuating circumstance and maybe you really, really need to get out of your head, think on a rare occasion it's not terrible to go shopping a little bit, but this is generally a habit that I really wanted to break. I wanted to find other sources of calming myself down. So I did a lot less of it in 2024, but I was not perfect. The third reason that we sometimes went shopping was just that we would get bored and stir crazy. One reason that we've been discussing moving back to Maryland is we've been living here in Asheville for almost 6 years now, and we didn't realize that there wouldn't be a lot for us to do as a couple just on our own. There is plenty to do in the Asheville area. So if you're thinking about moving here and you like certain activities, like there's a lot of like festivals and art events. There's a lot of like rugged outdoorsy stuff like kayaking and mountain hiking and there's a lot to do. But we are mainly like when we lived in Maryland, we spent a lot of time strolling around the battlefields, going to like historical museums, nice parks and state parks that my partner has some mobility issues, so we needed them to have like nice flat trails that have a parking lot nearby. Sometimes we'd explore like kind of ruins. So we're really like history, historical art, and like accessible state and city park people as far as what we like to do. We're also very late to get going with anything, so it's nice to have some things that are open at later hours. And we realized over time there is not a lot of those things in Asheville. We do have like some good friends here, so there's like community stuff to do, but when we just want to go out the door and do something, we are really struggling to figure out what can we do here. There's not like a lot in the way of places that you can go stroll that are free or cheap so that if we get there an hour before closing, we can still get some time in. We had Biltmore passes for 2 years, but Biltmore passes are not cheap. So as I was trimming down the budget, I just couldn't justify renewing the Biltmore passes. We did end up going shopping sometimes just to like get out and do something together. And I don't know a great remedy for that right now besides leaving and going back to the Northeast where there's more things to do. The fourth thing that probably got me was like events, particular times where like a friend invited me out to go thrifting, or my mom and I have like an annual birthday thrifting trip. For a few years, we've gone to Siege, the Southeast Game Exchange show, and this year I was really on the fence as to whether to go, but then one of our friends decided he was going to go, and so then it was like, oh, we can all caravan down together, and we can go to the show together, and then we can all have dinner together. It just sounded like a good, fun getaway, so we ended up doing that, and of course, I had to buy a few video games while I was at Siege, so yeah. Those were the times when I failed at my mission. But I am really glad I tried. I definitely trimmed down my budget a lot. I was very conscious about my spending. I was much better at focusing on what really makes me happy. One of the things that I did, which I discussed, I think in my Frugal Life video, but I made myself a little card to consult before I bought anything. I basically just had like a little checklist of like, before you buy this, are you going to go home and use it within like the next 30 days? Could you easily obtain this item for the same price, like on eBay tomorrow? Like if you pass on it today, can you just easily get it for a similar price? Anyway, basically I made myself a little card with like my checklist of things to consider before I bought anything, and I don't 100% remember what they all are because I ended up misplacing the card, but I kind of got the idea. So I would recommend that. If you're having trouble when you're like at the point of standing in the store, it can kind of ground you to have that little checklist to look at and go, okay, now I don't need to buy this today. I can go home and think about it. So this year I'm recalibrating the strategy a little bit. I've decided that I can spend money now and then. The main thing that I want to spend money on are things that I plan to enjoy, which is mostly records. You can listen to a lot more records than you can read books, so I really don't need any more books whatsoever. You can see a little bit of my manga collection behind me, but this entire room is just all books. Nonfiction, fiction, manga, you name it. And this is not the only room that's like wall-to-wall bookshelves. We got a lot of books. We have too many books. And it takes a lot longer to read a book than it does to listen to an album. So now and then we are going to the local record store, because the other thing about the local record store is that it is a real pleasure to go there. We're usually there for a while. We chat with the owner. Sometimes you end up chatting with other customers. Like, record stores are very convivial places. So if in the crazy event that everybody decides to stop spending money, I'm thinking, what is the like place that I would still want to exist? And the local record store is definitely a big one for me, that even if like there was a total collapse of materialism, I would still want the record store. If I do buy a necessity, I'm trying to buy quality. The other thing that I spent my Christmas money on, besides the Ellen Montgomery Diaries, is I went shoe shopping with my mom, and I was looking for good quality leather shoes. My budget was like $300 for shoes. And I got 3 pairs of shoes, and they all look very well made, like they're gonna last a while. And since I got a few different styles and colors of shoes, I should be good with shoes for years to come. Some of them might even be able to be taken to a shoe repair place, if there even is one anymore. There's probably like a mail away shoe repair place, but anyway, they're good shoes. They're gonna last. And I do think that's worth spending money on, that if you do need something, like when I needed a new vacuum cleaner some years ago, I had gone through like 3 vacuum cleaners that just kept like dying on me. So I finally got myself Mila, I don't know. Anyway, nice German vacuum cleaner. And I haven't had to buy another vacuum cleaner since. I've probably had it for 10 years now, so it was worth saving up for a quality vacuum cleaner. Some things they don't even make a good one of anymore, it seems like, but I try. If you can't thrift it. Like, I just thrift toaster ovens. I keep going through toaster ovens because I keep buying like $1 thrift store toaster ovens, and they usually don't last that long because they're already kind of long in the tooth, but there's always another $1 toaster oven. So that's at least keeping it out of the landfill for a little bit longer. I'm also focusing more on food this year. Eating out is getting ridiculous. The only place we still have to eat out that's like cheap is the Mexican joint. So we do eat there a lot, but everything else, like fast food is just stupid expensive. But I definitely needed a plan to attack this problem, because the reason that I get food out is not often because I'm like, oh man, I'm really wanting some McDonald's today. It's usually because I had to pack 15 packages, rush to the post office before they closed, and now I'm starving because the only thing I had time to eat was like a little bag of nuts while I was packing all of my post office stuff. Or I've been making YouTube videos all day and editing them and trying to get, like, life gets crazy. I'm not always that great at planning ahead, so I'm often just like getting to the point where it's like it's 4 p.m. and I haven't eaten anything and I'm very jittery and I'm about to murder someone and I didn't even really think about it until now. Now I will eat anything, the closest place. So I've had to have a strategy for how to avoid eating out. The main thing that has helped is making sure that I have decent convenience food around. I've been a lot more conscious about watching the sales and making sure that I grab up like Amy's frozen meals, the vegetarian frozen meals. Those were buy one get one free last week, so I bought like a whole stack of them. And now if I get hungry, I can just like toss together a bag of frozen vegetables and like Amy's pad thai, maybe an egg, and have like, because those frozen meals, they're not really that filling on their own. So I usually add like a little extra. Like basically I've been trying to make sure I have a very wide range of easy options on hand at any given time, so that if I'm just suddenly hungry, there are 5 different things that I can whip up in like 15 minutes using one pan. And it has helped a lot. Our food budget has gotten way less, and I've just tried to be more strategic about grocery store shopping. I also have a chest freezer, which I extremely recommend. If you have room for a chest freezer and you're trying to save money on food, I can't even tell you how much money owning a chest freezer has saved me over the years, because I can stock up on things that are on sale that are like our favorites. Disheveled editing Lydia here. You get the hair today because I just took a shower and I'm trying to let it dry. I just wanted to add, I cook from scratch a ton as well. I didn't get into that in the video, but like it's not like I'm just eating convenience food. I cook at home a lot. That's why when I have a really busy day, I don't want to get involved in like making yet another meal from scratch. I get so tired of cooking sometimes. If you're somebody who cooks from scratch a lot, you can probably relate that you have days where you're just like, I chopped vegetables for a whole hour yesterday. I don't want to do it today. So yeah, that's the plan going forward to 2025. Try not to eat out unless I'm really craving a particular thing, because I'm not trying to like make myself completely miserable here. I'm just trying to be conscious about spending. So if I wake up and I'm like, I really, really, really want Thai food, then it's fine to go get Thai food. I'm just trying to avoid the moments where I'm like, I don't even want anything, but I guess Thai food is fine. You could have had Amy's frozen Thai food at home. I'm trying to keep my fun spending down to mostly just an occasional little foray to the record store, and occasional thrift store trip is okay. But even then, I'm trying not to just accumulate much stuff just for the heck, like just because I want to go to the thrift store and mess around. I've really tried to raise my standards about what I will actually go home with. And if I need a necessity, trying to buy quality, it's okay to spend more money on those things. I have a feeling that breaking shopping addictions, kind of like breaking food addictions, you might not hit it on the first go and you might never be perfect at it, but the more that you make an effort to try to figure out what is the path that works for you, I am finding that I'm getting closer to where I want to be and just more aware of what my habits are. That doesn't still mean that I don't have moments, just like when you're trying to eat better and you have a moment where you're just totally aware that you're doing something stupid and eating something terrible. I've had moments where I was just buying something that I knew perfectly well I wasn't going to use anytime soon. I didn't really need. It broke all my rules. I was just doing it anyway. I think that the good thing about calling it a no-buy year is that sometimes being a little extra strict for a time makes you take a harder assessment of the whole thing. But really, really where I would want to be is just a conscious spending life, that none of my money is being spent mindlessly and stupidly. And that could even mean spending a lot of money. If I had it to spend and I wanted to spend it on expensive, lavish things, then at some future point in my life, I mean, heck, I could be somebody who's taking some crazy vacation or eating out in fancy restaurants or buying myself like the best vintage dresses out there. But I only want to be doing that stuff if I am aware that it is what I really want, that's bringing me an experience that I truly desire, and then I'm not doing it just as like mindless distraction, or for some people, keeping up with other people is a factor. I'm kind of immune to that. It seems like I just don't care what anybody else is doing. So yeah, I do recommend trying a no buy / conscious spending year, if maybe only for 1 year, just to like take a moment, take a pause to consider your spending habits and what they're really bringing to you. I hope this video was interesting. As my regular viewers know, my name is Lydia Foxglove and I'm a fantasy writer. I've been a full-time writer since 2009. I have never worked a full-time job for someone else in my entire life. And part of the reason is because I am very frugal generally, and I'm always thinking about this stuff like, how can I make my life more simple and conscious? And it is truly, I think, a big factor in why my books exist. So that's why I do videos about this periodically. And if you enjoy this kind of content or content about writing and the creative life in general, then I'd love to see you stick around. And if you've been here a while, I hope you enjoyed it. Have any of you tried or plan to try a no-buy year? I'd love to know how it went for you and what your pitfalls were. What did you win? What did you buy that was like, whoops? For me, probably the stupidest thing of the year was that I bought the one Style Savvy game for the Nintendo DS that I didn't already have, because I've had a lot of fun with the other Style Savvy games, but there's one game in the series that's like $100. And I found that at the game show, but like, I do not have time to play DS games right now. So it's just sitting there gathering dust, and I know it. I know it. And if you're just thinking about trying a no-buy year or just starting to do one, how's it going for you? And I'm cheering you on. I'll be back next week with more of a writerly video. And if you want more from me, I have a Patreon and a Substack. Same content on both. Both have a free tier, where the $5 tier gets you access to 2 bonus videos a month that members vote on, as well as my Discord. I also have memberships turned on the channel if you just want those bonus videos. And if you'd like to read any of my books, there's a link in the description. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!